I mean, I am so mad at Skolnick and that whole 5 reasons conglomerate over there with yesterday, because everybody's mad at me now. Everybody's gone out there. Yesterday, they come out with this report that Portland is interested in Erik Spoelstra to be their head coach. They've had internal conversations, and now everybody's looking at me like, "Look at you! Look what you did!"
Look. Let me tell a story, and I will tell the story according to how this story has been told. So Tobin, being silly, comes up with this convoluted story of, hey, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yep.
What if we trade Spo for Dame Dollar? This is how this starts.
Best asset.
We make fun of you. We laugh at you. We mock you.
It didn't feel like mockery. It felt like anger. It felt like you guys.
It was genius.
So wait. So then somebody reports it like this. What I've been hearing in the Portland organization is that they have an interest in Spo. Now, Spo is not free. Spo is under contract.
That's right.
And for all intent and purposes, Spo is happy where he is.
Yeah.
Let's put that out there.
Yep.
Okay. Now, because somebody heard. Now, nobody knows if anybody said anything.
Nope.
But because it's juicy and it sounds, ooh, they're gonna go get Spo from
Portland's
Miami?
going nuts right now. Portland's going nuts.
People are going crazy. Now, the reason why I blame you, because how in the hell is this story reported in Miami? It's not in Portland.
Well, I mean, listen.
No. It's not somebody from Portland putting it out there.
Yeah, I always find that strange, though. Like, people, like, what do you think? We contact each other via Raven? Like, is Skolnick, if he's reporting it, I'm sure he could know. He was a reporter in the NBA for a very long time, was a national reporter. Like, I'm sure he could have Portland sources.
Let me ask you a question. With what you know of the Miami Heat.
Yep.
With what you know of the situation down here, right? What would lead anybody to call Portland and ask them about Spo, or the conversation get to Spo?
That's a good question.
Because guess what? It doesn't even like. There has to be something out there. What's the tie-in?
Are you saying like our little birdie could have tipped the hand? Is that what you're saying? The idea?
Right.
It's possible. It's possible. Right. It's possible.
Right. That's where I'm getting to this.
It's possible. Listen, I was talking about this last week with the whole Stats wasn't even fired when I was talking about this. But even if it's silly with me talking about the Dame Dollar thing, my point with Spo remains.
Do not.
But listen, my point with him kind of remains the same. We were talking about this yesterday, where I was joking, like, with him hanging out with Fizdale. Do you think they're making fun of Brad Stevens? And Fizz is like, you should probably, go run your own organization, because I do think that that's probably a thing that naturally will come into set. Doesn't mean he's going to leave.
Real talk.
Doesn't mean that he has to go to Portland, Leroy. But it's only natural. It's only natural to question these things if the opportunity presents itself.
Okay. He's under contract.
But isn't
hold
it
on.
isn't it
If-
hold on, isn't
if
it a
me
thing with
and you-
coaches? If it's for a higher position,
Yeah,
aren't you allowed to go
Yeah,
interview?
he did that with Pat Riley. That's a
Yeah,
famous fact.
so I think I mean he's not going to just be head coach of the Trailblazers in this
Okay.
theory. Like he would
President of
definitely
basketball
be
operations.
he would be everything there.
let me ask you this. So, say if I go somewhere else to another station,
Yep.
and then I get fired,
Mhm.
and I don't have a job,
Right.
and then you get a big time gig.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be your first phone call? Leroy. Leroy's going to call you and say, "Hey, you got some room over there? I don't have a job." So, Spo and Fizdale being friends is great. They've probably been friends because they went through it together.
But this is a
How do you know you want to call
What?
Beast first?
It seems like these conversations would work out really good for Fizdale.
yeah, but this is a fictional conversation I'm coming up with.
Read the tea leaves.
This is the problem.
You're
I
not
like
reading the room.
JP,
You're not reading the room.
bring up that last comment that we just had. Like, I'm just here having fun and I'm playing in the silly sauce. The problem is that I hear things that are logical, that are just natural.
No, you don't. Your
Listen to
logic
me.
is
I'm
off.
telling you, Leroy, I hear things. I'm a very good listener. I'm a very good listener. I always have been. Okay. And when I hear things like Pat Riley saying last week about Spo, and I hear things about his future, and then I see things that happen to Spo's quote unquote peers getting promotions that he deserves much more than they do, I only think it's a natural thing as a professional to think Brad Stevens gets to run an organization and I'm sitting here, I'm never going to do it because Riley's always going to be the man. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like a basketball player who thinks he could be better off with more shots. It's
But here's the deal, right? Think of the organization you're saying this about. This is not some random organization.
It's not.
Most of the people here are lifers.
I know, and I know what. I know
conversations are few and far between.
Well, I remember. Do you remember the last time we had when we talked to Spo? The last time he was on the show, like we actually talked to him about that, like how grateful he was to be here, and because he is a lifer. Like he's literally been here since the film room, and almost got fired. Like was just us, like, hey, could you do this? And he's just like, yep. And so he got to keep the gig. Like, it could have been no Erik Spoelstra. Could have gone completely different way. Rando. Could have. And so he gets to keep the film job and then just grinds his way all the way up like an absolute beast.
Yeah, but when you do that, you don't just up and leave.
It's been a long time, man. 14 years is a long time, baby.
Look, here. We're not talking about assistants. Okay? But every coach that the Miami Heat have ever had, every head coach is still with the organization.
Well, Rothstein came back.
No, again.
We left and then he came back.
Okay. They're still with the Heat, which means like that's a different level of organization. Like, don't like it, even if you think you can get a better job, the circumstances in which these guys coach for the Miami Heat and the relationships that they have with the Miami Heat, you can't make the assumption you get that everywhere.
I agree with you. I agree, but what if he's not looking for this there? Like he's looking to do something more.
Dude, look, is he even 50 yet?
He is 50.
He's 50. All right.
He's 50. Brad Stevens, bigger job than him at 44. Ridiculous.
But you are consumed with other people.
Yeah.
Like most athletes aren't. Like,
dude. What are you talking about? The biggest story in town is Xavier Howard holding out because his teammate makes more money than him at the same position. What are you talking about? Like, come on, dude. I'll be with you. I'm not saying like it's the overwhelming feeling, but it's only a natural feeling for a guy who's very good at his job to see more undeserving people get stuff, to even have moments, just moments where you're like, come on, bro.
Oh, okay. I'll give you this. That's still within the same organization, right? Like if Spo was worried about what every coach was making and what his powers, he wouldn't be able to do his job.
And I don't think it affects his job. I don't think he goes to bed at night and thinks to himself, this Riley's never retiring, never leaving.
Here's what happened.
But in the calm down of a season, which was basically 2 seasons in one, and he's first settling down and he sees how like the smoke is filtering out. Again, I don't think he's gonna go. I don't think he's leaving. But I think if I was Portland and I was gonna play that string, this is the way I would go.
That's how it starts.
How about this? Can I give you the other side of that?
Sure.
Because you seem to think Fizdale sits down with Spo and says, how about that Brad Stevens?
Of course he does.
Okay. No. Fizdale sits down with his boy and he says, hey, man, I'm going to tell you like this. Take it from me. The grass isn't always greener.
Agreed.
Because you can go and take one of them jobs and the organization not be as good as this one, and you're in a dumpster fire.
He might say that.
Why say that? Why would you assume that he's automatic?
You're right.
If they're friends, he's going to give him his life experience trying somewhere else.
He could, or it could go 2 ways. Like Fizz could be like here, and I don't know why we've made Fizz and Spo out of Benihana's talking about their future, but like just imagine that. Like they're sitting there by the volcano onion, and they're who knows, egg drop, egg roll. Like it's a hilarious bit. Works.
Spo's catching shrimp.
Yeah, like I don't know why. Yeah, maybe make it a
shrimp tail in his coat pocket. Like,
maybe
what are you doing?
Maybe Spo and Fizdale went to Golden Corral. Probably somewhere like that.
They didn't want to be seen.
That'd be me and you. We'd meet at some kind of buffet. Hey, I'm in town. Where you want to go? You want to go to the old Chinese buffet? Oh yeah, I'm in. Like we ain't going to Prime.
Texter writes that Steven's job is in the front office because they didn't want him to coach and have to pay him. If you fire him, you admit that you were wrong and have to pay him. True, but it's still looked upon like he doesn't have to go on the road every single game because he was worn out, he was burnt out, and he's 44 years old and doesn't have a resume that even holds a candle to Erik Spoelstra's. So that's where that kind of comes from on that one. Another texter writes in from El Borre. Hope you're out there safe on the streets, man. Spo is a new father and doesn't want more responsibility. Now that I actually think is a legitimate thing. Like Spo has young kids. His wife is from down here. Spo has to go on the road, and asking your wife with her 2 young boys, and asking her to up and leave to Portland away from her family, where that's probably, I would imagine, her support system when you're always out on the road. I'd imagine that'd be a huge obstacle in him not wanting to leave. I think that's a legitimate thing. Like just because you already have a prestigious job, you know that you're gonna probably be in this organization for the rest of your life, and she gets to be home. Which I imagine. Listen, it's still I'm sure a blessed life to be the family of a guy who's a head coach, but it's also got its hard spots because your dad and your husband aren't home a lot. So yeah, I think that's a legitimate knock against. If they were making a pros and cons list by Fizdale at the bonfire, that would probably be on the cons list, if I had to guess. And by the way, I just want to say, can I get a little reprieve on this before you all yelled at me? At least in my scenario, we're getting Dame Dalla. It's not like I'm just saying for Spo to up and leave. Like, mine had a big caveat to it, and I have all these pitchforks getting thrown at me yesterday on social media, Leroy. Boo, Tobin. Boo, look what you did. Look what you put into the ether. Skolnick, he's just got him up and leaving. I gave you Dame Dalla at least as a consolation prize.
I don't know why everyone's so mad. Right. It's a genius proposition.
Stop, Robbie.
And it's someone coming through.
Man. You don't need a hype man, Robbie.
Not the same proposition, though, Robbie. This is just him leaving us with
Dame Dalla
and keeping Dame Dalla.
That's fine.
Here's the thing, and I would say this of all coaches' wives, and players' wives. That I think one of the things that you understand when you marry somebody in that profession is that you understand that this could happen because you see it,
Sure.
right? Like, so Spo's wife sees it happen with players, with coaches. If Fizdale's a friend of the family, right? Then they see.
I like how we keep bringing up Fizdale. I just made that up yesterday. Like, he's down here, he's hanging out with them, but we have no idea if he's actually in these conversations.
But I'm just saying is that when you see a coach's life, you understand that that's part of it,
right?
Sure. So that.
But if you were having a family discussion, like I'm sure you've had, like you talk about your opportunities to go to Cleveland, like. You don't, maybe your family would go, but maybe they want to stay here. And you're like, yeah, I kind of like it here. Those are all parts of those are natural parts of the conversation and marriage.
Yeah, but I'm retired.
Oh yeah.
I'm not in the meat of my.
I meant if you wanted
I also told the story that I lived in 4 cities in 3 months.
Right. But I was more thinking about if you wanted to go work with Goldhammer. Oh, Leroy
and Amber.
That'd be something.
Me,
Amber, and Goldhammer, and we just traded out Zaz.
Yep, Zaz. Yeah. Oh, what do you think, Odell Beckham Jr. Better from the knee injury back? Your thoughts?
I don't think I could. You guys have got me to the point where I don't even know what sports radio is. Like, even when I go on shows, I find myself falling into the silly sauce, and they thinking, "Oh, we can't have this clown on anymore. He don't even talk sports."
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I got an email yesterday from a radio station in Portland, and they want me to talk about Sportland.
Yeah. By the way, you know how many points Brent Forbes had last night?
No, how many points?
5.
This is how you've judged all of Erik Spoelstra's Hall of Fame resume. Actually, is what Brent Forbes is doing.
Him and the guy who we haven't named an hour after have a lot in common.
One flamethrower at a time, my friend. We'll get we'll get to that too.
Dude, why do I sense that Robbie comes to work with one of those Ghostbuster flamethrowers on his back? Right, and then he switches it to Brent Forbes, click, tour, all the way up.
Another texter writes in says, "Do you guys realize Shane Battier is in the front office and would be next in line to take over for Riley if not one of the Harrison kids? That's why D-Wade knew there were no options here."
Let me explain something to you. If Pat Riley were to retire, they would go to Spo.
I agree.
No questions asked. They would go to Spo. There's no, because guess what? That's the way they do business here.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, you go have discussion with Spo, ask him, hey, what would you like to do? Right? Because he earned that. And this is not I really like Shane Battier.
I love Shane Battier too.
I think he's a one hell of a smart guy. Okay. But there's nobody who understands how the Miami Heat work more than Shane Battier.
But I think the other big point of it is that I think the bigger thing people need to take out of it is that Riley doesn't sound like he wants this to end anytime soon, dude. Like, he sounds like
that's fine.
He sounds like he wants to keep doing this, and he doesn't really see an end in sight. Now, maybe another bad season where they get swept in the first round, maybe that opinion changes, but normally that usually just makes him want to keep digging in and going further. I honestly think the only thing that's going to keep that would ever give the Heat that would ever make Riley leave is them winning the championship, and that's how he goes out. I don't think he's going to end badly.
Here's the thing with that, though. Like, there's no timetable on this.
Nope.
Why all of a sudden, because of what another franchise is doing, it puts a timetable on what you're doing as a Heat organization? You are a better organization than these other organizations.
Totally.
You are run better. You're from top to bottom, you are situated better than a lot of these organizations. Why are you looking at another organization to figure we have to do this now, or this has to happen,
because
or
you have the allure of him, his dad his dad running the team. You have the allure of Spo having a restaurant there. You have an allure of him playing at the University of Portland. You have the allure of nostalgia. Like that's the only I don't think a lot of franchises would even attempt to try this or want to even talk about it or even put that into the ether. I don't think a lot of franchises would. I would get why they would. And look, it's not like he's even lining up for an interview. It's not even like Spo wants to do it. I'm just saying I think the reason, but I think that the reason that this ends up in the ether or just out there is because there's logical steps. That's why I made the silly trade in the first place.
Spo's been here for 20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it would be to get up after being somewhere for 20 years?
I'm sure.
Not to
imagine. It would be hard.
And things are going great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you have pretty much worked yourself into a position of a lifer. That means you will have this job or some form of job with the organization forever because you earned it.
Of course.
You want to pick up and go try something different?
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you.
Probably not. I would say probably not, but I would say if anything is going to make me leave, those are the things that would probably do it.
But you get that here. When all of a sudden here.
I don't get to be the guy. Like I don't get to be the top guy. I don't get to be Riley here.
Because Riley's still here.
I know, but he's never leaving.
I don't see Spo as a guy who all of a sudden becomes impatient. Right? Because basically what you're saying is all of a sudden he's getting frustrated that Pat Riley's still here, which is crazy to me.
No, I really don't. Like I don't look at it like that. I don't look at it. I think it's a natural thing. He has been here for 20 years and he has had great success and he's done awesome things, but it doesn't feel like him ever getting the opportunities that other guys like Brad Stevens get. It doesn't feel like that's going to be around the corner. It doesn't feel like that's coming anytime soon. And you can say that, he's not thinking about that when I think people do. It doesn't mean that's the overwhelming feeling. I think that it's a feeling.
Other people's pocket.
It's not a pocket though. It's a position.
It's again, you worry about other people. Don't worry about other people.
But you know that happens in pro sports, dude. You know it does.
I just find it hard. I just find it hard to believe that a guy who, as long as we've known Spo, has preached patience.
Let me ask you this: do we ever think, even if it's just looked upon as like, the slightest disrespect, you think you take guys for granted, right? Like Riley took Wade for granted, and you thought he's never going to leave. He's a lifer. He's never going to leave. He's been here his entire career. So we're going to go take care of Whiteside and Chase Durant over here. And Wade's always going to be Wade. And then he left. The unthinkable happened.
Right. I would say that situation presents itself if Pat Riley leaves and then they don't go to Spo and they hire somebody else. Then we can have this conversation. But until a situation presents itself, I'm not going to assume that all of a sudden Spo is being impatient and wants, more power. I'm just not, because he has taught everybody, hey, relax, be patient. It's a process. We have to do certain things. And then he's not going to live by that mantra.
Texter writes in, I know you guys want to fill space, but what the hell are you two talking about this? Tobin wakes up on his hour-plus ride to the studio and thinks, what stupid thing can I waste my time on? In fairness, sir, my ride to the studio is 6 steps, and I was still late to work today.
Right.
I think you've been more late since you've been working over there than you have when you were.
I definitely have. It screws me up.
Really, really, really.
It does.
That sounds like the dumbest single reason to want to drive an hour to work.
Oh, it would.
That's
I would.
Just stupid.
I'm not late when I drive to work.
He's in the zone.
Let me get this straight.
I'll be up at 3:30.
You would feel better getting up at 3:30 and driving an hour to work than just going to the room next to you where you sleep.
Can't explain it. Plus, I got these new things with the ocean.
You are losing all credibility.
Leroy, when I have the ocean sounds on my sleepy sounds, I'm like in dreamland, dude.
I think you sleep with it. Does your wife ever tap you and because you're spewing out hot takes in your sleep?
I don't know. I'll ask her.
He wails in his
Like
sleep.
just in the middle of the night, she just hears.